10 years ago, she sacrificed everything to save him. Now he hunts her down from the asylum. The wind howled through the desolate streets of Crowley, a small town that wore its secrets like a heavy cloak. 10 years had passed since hell broke loose when Sarah Parker willingly threw everything away to save Marcus Alden, a boy whose dark fate was written in blood. Now, whispers cloaked in dread surrounded her, carrying tales that Marcus was alive, trapped in a forgotten asylum where shadows danced with madness. And he was searching for her. The rain started to fall, soft at first, then pounding against the cracked pavement like a heartbeat thrumming, relentless, just like the uncertainty that settled deep in Sarah's gut. She could almost hear his voice on the wind, a raspy echo calling her name. Was it really him? Or just her haunted memory playing tricks? The air crackled with an unsettling energy, making her skin crawl as if unseen eyes were watching, always watching. Every report of strange sightings had the townsfolk clutching their pearl necklaces, eyes wide with terror. And Sarah? She had felt the weight of each story. A flash of dark hair at the corner of her eye, a figure lurking by the old clock tower that hadn't worked in years. The town had turned monstrous in her mind, a living entity filled with danger and unpredictable threats. She stumbled upon the local diner with walls plastered with newspaper clippings about the asylum's escapees. Each article seemed to mock her, headlines screaming about murders and whispers of a figure saying, "I will find her." Panic gripped her heart as flashes of events from that fateful night flooded her thoughts, how she had held Marcus as his eyes dimmed, his breath fading, her desperate promise to save him ringing in her ears. "I won't let you go," she had screamed, and now, 10 years later, it felt eerily like he hadn't let her go either. The door chime jingled as she entered the diner, a mix of aroma from greasy burgers and cheap coffee greeting her. Heads turned, and she felt their gazes linger, suspicion warping into concern. A group huddled in the corner, whispering, glancing over with judgmental glances. Sarah's cheeks burned. Their silent scorn stung more than the cold wind outside. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The atmosphere thickened as a sudden hush fell. The door slammed open, and a figure stood there, framed by the cold light outside. It was a silhouette she knew all too well. Her heart raced. Only one person could send waves of dread crashing over her like this. Marcus, his frame gaunt but recognizable, his smile twisted into something jagged, like a knife in the dark. The murmurs died as he stepped inside, the bell chiming ominously behind him. She could see the glint of madness in his eyes, the remnants of the boy she once saved, now replaced by something sinister. "Sarah," he said, voice smooth as glass but jagged like shards. "You thought you could escape?" A chill coursed through her. The past had clawed its way back, more terrifying than she could have imagined. What had she done by saving him? As the diner's fluorescent lights flickered, illuminating the fear on every face, she understood her next step was crucial. Danger lurked not just outside but within. How would she survive his wrath this time? Her breath hitched. The choice loomed large as she felt the room closing in. Would she run? Fight? Or confront the terrifying truth the boy she saved now was the man who would destroy her? The moment hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Sarah's heart thundered like a war drum. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to flee out that door and never look back. But a deeper part of her, one rooted in guilt and fear, held her in place. The eyes of the diner were glued to her, a collective breath held in anxiety. Whispers. They didn't see just her, they saw a girl wrapped in a deadly mystery. Marcus prowled forward, each step deliberate. The fluorescent lights made his skin shine like porcelain, but it was his eyes, the wild flicker within them, that terrified her most. "You left me to rot," he said, voice low, an unsettling calm that sent shivers down her spine. "But I found a way back. I always find a way back." His words twisted like a knife, cutting deep. She remembered the night, all the promises, the chaos that followed. She had been so naive to think she could rewrite fate with a single act of courage. But what had begun as a rescue had birthed a monster. "Marcus," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, strained under the weight of recognition and the terror it invoked. "You have to understand, I did what I thought was right for you." His laughter broke the silence like glass shattering. It was a dark, cruel sound that echoed off the diner's walls. "Right? Or for yourself? You made the choice, Sarah. You played God, and now we're both trapped in this twisted game. You can't hide from the consequences." Suddenly, a waitress dropped a tray, and the clatter of metal on tile startled everyone. Faces spun toward the noise, momentarily breaking the tension. Sarah seized the moment and backed away, her pulse racing. But Marcus didn't flinch. He seemed to thrive on the chaos, casting a darting glance at the patrons. "You don't get it, do you?" he said, now louder, venom dripping from his tone. "You think you can just walk away? What am I to you? A ghost?" "Stop!" she shouted, trying to leverage the rising fear in the room, hoping for a moment of unity. "You're not a ghost. You're alive." He stepped closer, invading her space, eyes narrowing. "Alive? Or unhinged? I'm reborn, Sarah. After everything, I came back for you. But it's not just about love anymore, it's about redemption and vengeance." The hairs at the back of her neck bristled. She edged back, glancing towards the door, weighing her options. The diner was closing in, the other patrons were paralyzed by horror, but she was done playing the victim. "What do you want?" she demanded, the tremor in her voice masking an iron resolve. "If I have to pay, tell me what that price is. I want to let you take me down without a fight." He paused, momentarily taken aback. A flicker of the boy she once saved flashed across his face before being snuffed out by darkness. "You think you're the one who gets to choose? This is a game, Sarah. I already know all the rules and I play to win." A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face as his eyes darted toward the door, almost sensing the weakening resolve of those around them. Only a few had dared to look away, whispering amongst themselves, fear bubbling into panic. Yet, somewhere buried beneath her fear, hope began to sprout. Suddenly, the door swung open wider, revealing a cold, rain-slicked street. Run or stand and fight, she thought. But before she could decide, his voice cut through her thoughts, a low growl. "Choose wisely, Sarah. The clock is ticking and you're running out of time." What would she do now? Desperate, she felt the weight of her choice bearing down on her like the storm outside. Time was slipping through her fingers. Could she confront the darkness, or would she let it consume her once and for all? As the diner's old clock chimed ominously, a choice loomed nearer. Would she take the leap or let the ashes of regret settle around her once more? The moment stretched, a taut string that could snap at any second. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, and for one heart-stopping instant, she felt utterly alone, trapped in a nightmare of her own making. The whispers thickened, swelling around her as accusations flew in the charged air. "She did this to him," one patron murmured. "She got him locked away." Marcus's eyes sparkled with treachery, the hint of a sinister smile curling his lips. "They all know your secret, Sarah. How you played hero only to leave me behind. But here we are, and you can't escape me now. Don't listen to him." A brave voice rose from the back of the diner. It was a middle-aged man, anger flaring in his eyes. "He's just a madman." Marcus turned his head slowly, fixing the man with a predatory gaze. "Madman or not," he said, "this is our story. Yours included if you want. But trust me, it won't be pretty." The man faltered, unsure of what to do next, leaving behind the modest bravery that had ignited moments before. Anxiety permeated the diner, faces pale and eager for an escape. "Listen to me, everyone," Sarah shouted, trying to rally their attention like a captain on a sinking ship. "You have to leave. He's dangerous." "Dangerous?" Marcus laughed again, the sound slicing through the tension like a knife. "No, Sarah. They're all scared of you because you're the one with the blood on your hands. What did you think would happen? Did you expect applause? A standing ovation for your grand act?" Something twisted inside her. The truth was far too painful to confront. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," she cried, her voice breaking as memories flooded in the echo of screams, the uncertainty, the night she had rushed to save him, which had led to this day. "Then let us change the narrative." Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper, thick with malice. "I'll show them what really happened, and if I have to start with you, then so be it." Her heart raced, thudding against her ribcage. The essence of his threat sank in like a sharp blade. The crowd had fallen into stunned silence. At least they were finally listening. Behind her, the door loomed as an anchor point, a possible way out, but it felt miles away now. "Stay away from her!" shouted a young woman, jumping up with newfound courage. But fear draped over her like a shroud, trembling in her voice. "She's not responsible for what happened." Marcus turned slowly, fixing the young woman with a chilling stare. "Ah, another fool wants to protect her. Too sweet." With a flick of his wrist, he gestured toward Sarah. "Just know, you're part of this mess too. And when the clock strikes stop." Sarah blurted. Anguish followed her cry. Who was the real monster here? "What do you want from me?" A smirk danced across his lips, sinister and knowing. "The truth, Sarah. We didn't play fair, not at all. Now, it's time to reveal everything." Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the diner into darkness, then returning. She saw patrons shift uneasily, fingers trembling against cups and plates. And amid that swirl of confusion, the realization struck her like a lightning bolt. His game wasn't just with her. It was with them all. With adrenaline surging, she glanced toward the door one more time, weighing her options, a flood of thoughts racing in her mind. Could she risk leaving everyone behind? "Look at them!" she shouted, her voice raw, desperate. "You don't just want revenge on me. You want to destroy everyone I care about." He sighed dramatically, feigning innocence. "Oh, but there's so much fun to play with. Don't you want to see how they react when the truth comes out?" In that moment, everything hit her like a freight train, the truth about what they had done, the implications of sharing their story. Her heart sank. The connections she had forged were at stake now, and she couldn't let that happen. "Fight it, Sarah." A voice teased, cutting through her thoughts, the devil within Marcus whispering words of surrender, sweet as honey but laced with poison. Before she could respond, the old clock struck midnight, echoing through the tension-filled air. "It's time," Marcus announced, the promise of carnage dancing in his eyes. "Choose. And remember, they will pay just like you." With darkness hanging heavy, Sarah steeled herself for the storm that lay ahead. Would she stand her ground or let the storm sweep over them all? As the clock ticked down, panic rose like floodwaters, mingling with a fierce resolve. How could she flip the narrative on Marcus, and would there even be time? Fear wrapped around her like a vice, tightening with each passing second. The answer hovered just out of reach, taunting her. Would she give in to despair, or find a way to awaken the power within before all was lost? The atmosphere thickened like a fog, stifling and heavy. Sarah's mind raced, each heartbeat a drum speaking of desperation. She paced the diner, met only by the bewildered faces of those she had vowed to protect. What had gone wrong? How long could she keep this charade going? "Stop!" she shouted again, desperation creeping into her voice. "Listen to me. He's not just mad, he's unhinged. He'll do anything to destroy everything. Marcus's laughter cut through her words, biting and chilling, a sinister melody that wrapped around them. Everything? Oh no, sweetheart. Just the things that matter most to you. His eyes glinted, and for a fleeting moment, she caught a glimpse of pure malice. Your truth is more entertaining than you know. She braced herself, her palms clammy against the wooden table. You're delusional. For a split second, the crowd stirred, a flicker of indignation igniting hope within her. But then it sank into silence again. Marcus had a hold on them. Fear held them captive. Delusional? He stepped closer, the scent of his aftershave cutting through the cloying air. You and I both know that you are the architect of your own destruction. I'm just here to help you reveal those secrets you hide so well. You think you can intimidate me with these games? Sarah felt a fire igniting within her, an ember that refused to die. I want to let you do this. Oh, but it's already happening, he retorted, purple shadows dancing across the wall as the flickering neon lights cast chaotic shapes. You see, Sarah, everyone out there is just an audience waiting for the grand reveal. And I'm the one holding the strings. Her throat clenched. She could sense the crowd shifting, their eyes flickering between her and Marcus. They were questioning, fearing, and she was losing her chance to fight back. Enough! Shouted the brave man from before, standing tall against the tide. You're a coward hiding behind haphazard words and deceit. You think you're clever, but we have the truth on our side. His voice wavered, but the defiance hung like mist in the air. Marcus sneered. Truth? What is your truth, then? That she saved me only to forget about me? Look around. Let them decide if she is a hero or a villain. The young woman who had defended Sarah stood up again, tears brimming in her eyes. You can't play with people like this. We are not pawns in your sick game. Pawns? He mused, a theatrical gasp escaping his lips. Perhaps, but every pawn has its moment. And when their moment comes, they must choose to break free or follow the path laid before them. Sarah had to act. The tension crackled, electric and sizzling. Listen. We can work together, she urged, desperation bleeding into her tone. Stop fighting and unite. This is not just about me. He is a threat to anyone who gets in his way. Unite? Marcus laughed, high-pitched like fingernails on a chalkboard. And what shall we do? Hold hands and sing Kumbaya? I only offer chaos. It's the only thing that brings out the truth. His gaze turned icy. And now the curtain is about to rise. Just then, one patron rushed for the exit, eyes wide. I'm not going to let him control me. No. Don't go. Sarah yelled, but it was too late. The door swung open, and escape seemed a glimmering beacon for those trapped in fear. His lips curled into a smile as he gestured toward the door. There's your stage. But know this: the truth will follow. And hearts will break. The crowd erupted, patrons scrambling, hearts racing. Sarah's breath hitched. How could she stop this frenzy? The very air buzzed with a mix of hope and dread. With her pulse pounding in her ears, she grasped the nearest table for support. The noise crescendoed, more chaos as people rushed, pulled by the anchors of instinct and trepidation. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. Time slipped away like sand, and the room threatened to drown in turmoil. Marcus! She cried above the din. You won't win this. We're stronger together. Prove it, then, he hissed, and with a wave of his hand, the diner dimmed once again. Shadows loomed, as if he was a conductor rallying. Ominous notes in a symphony of fear, and in that moment, Sarah knew the truth loomed larger than life. Now it was her chance to turn the tide. Would she stand up and fight against the shadow, or would she let the remnants of a broken past consume her? As uncertainty hung in the air, one question burned inside her: how far was she willing to go to protect not just herself, but everyone caught in Marcus's twisted web? The air crackled, static and taut, as shadows crawled along the walls. The diner transformed into a theater of despair. The patrons surged toward the door, fueled by panic and fear. But it wasn't merely escape they sought, it was salvation from the impending storm crashing upon them, driven by Marcus's sinister energy. "Don't you see?" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Running 1T save you. He'll find you anywhere." The crowd hesitated, fear shifting to contemplation. Perhaps they sensed it too, the dark undertow swirling just beneath their urgency. Marcus watched, a predator savoring the moment. "In the end, fear is the only truth that ever really matters," he taunted, his tone dripping with cruel delight. "It's what binds you, what keeps you within your own limitations. Everyone always chooses survival over solidarity. You're all poised on a precipice." His cold gaze lingered on Sarah, and her heart thundered with the weight of memories. Twisted echoes of betrayal mingled with regret. 10 years of living beneath a shadow that had now taken form, stalking her like a ghost chasing its living counterpart. "Listen," she pleaded, her eyes scanning the crowd. "You can't let him win. We need to unify, confront him together." She stepped closer, her pounding heart a metronome of urgency. "Remember who you are. Remember your strength." The brave man from before took a step closer, heart in his throat. "We can fight against this," he cried, voice rising above the mounting tension. Marcus's laughter boomed, a symphony of derision. "Fight? What a delightful irony. You really think you can fight your own nature? You've already been molded by fear." He spun dramatically, arms outstretched. "I'm merely a mirror, reflecting your darkest desires back at you." The diner itself seemed to shrink beneath the weight of his presence, its walls closing in. The flickering neon flickered in desperation, thrown into disarray by his chaos. Suddenly, a sharp crash interrupted the facade. A patron had fallen, tripping over a chair, a stark reminder of the frenzy. Sarah rushed forward, instincts kicking in, her heart racing for the fallen woman. "Get up. Don't let him see you crumble." But it was too late. Marcus pointed, his face twisted in glee. "See? One by one, the facade cracks. Anxiety is fertile ground, it breeds disloyalty, weakness. Look how easily your dear friend succumbs." "No!" Sarah shouted, adrenaline coursing through her. She turned back to the crowd, determination igniting a fire in her chest. "He thrives on your fear. We've all suffered enough. Please, together, we can stand against him." A flicker of recognition passed through some faces. Hardships shared could bind them, but Marcus's presence loomed larger, slick and taunting. "Isn't it too late?" he challenged, stepping forward, closing the distance. "You're all caught in the web I weave. Every secret you possess only amplifies your weaknesses. Every choice you make is another step deeper into the abyss." The young woman who had been crying was now on her feet, breathing heavily. "But if we unite, we can expose you. We know the truth about you. You're just trying to twist it into something monstrous." "Truth?" he sneered. "Truth is subjective, my dear. What you see as heroes, others may see as monsters. Do you really think you can slay a beast you've helped create?" The word monsters struck a chord. Buried within Sarah were the haunting echoes of her past, of sacrifices made for a man who wore insanity like a crown. As another patron scrambled towards the exit, Marcus's eyes lit up with manic delight. "There goes another. You see? The truth is too monstrous to face. It's crawling beneath your skin, and it's hungry." With the tension mounting to an unbearable peak, a fiery resolve surged in her gut. "We won't let you tear us apart. I refuse to let you win." But Marcus only grinned wider, his laughter dark and teasing, resonating throughout the diner. "Then, my dear Sarah, let us see how deep your courage goes. The night is young, and the stage is set. How far will you go for the truth? Because with each moment you hesitate, another thread in the tapestry of your fate unravels. A sudden silence fell, heavy as stones, and a question echoed within her. How much longer could she hold this fragile hope together before it shattered? And then, as if on cue, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness. Was this the beginning of the end, or the end of an agonizing beginning? The darkness enveloped them like a thick, suffocating blanket. Sarah's heart pounded ferociously in her chest, each thump echoing in her ears as she squinted into the inky void. The buzz of panicked voices faded into a muffled haze, leaving a chilling silence punctuated only by the distant hum of anxiety that floated like a ghost above the crowd. "Stay together!" she yelled into the black. The command felt fragile, as if the words themselves could shatter at any moment. But she couldn't let that fear consume her, not now. A low growl reverberated through the shadows, sending shivers racing down her spine. It was Marcus, his voice slithering through the darkness like a serpent. "You can't hide from the truth, Sarah. You've lived in darkness for so long, now it's time to face your own despair." Fighting the urge to bolt towards the exit, Sarah instinctively clenched her fists at her sides. "We have no reason to fear you, Marcus." "Ah, but you do," he replied, a mocking lilt dancing on his tongue. "You're afraid of what you've become. You fear what you could have been, if not for me." The lights flickered back to life, illuminating the diner with a harsh, fluorescent glare. Faces filled with terror reflected in the shattered glass of the diner's walls, eyes wide and glistening. In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of every soul in that room pressing against her like a tidal wave, all searching for a savior she too desperately wanted to embody. Marcus stood at the center, a dark silhouette grinning at the chaos he'd sown. He raised his arms, casting shadows everywhere. "Look at them, Sarah. Look how they tremble. Their hopes are shattering. I am the essence of their fears. This is your fault too." All eyes turned toward Sarah, expectation and desperation mingling like a dangerous cocktail. Caught in the crossfire of Marcus's manipulation and her own dread, she took a step forward. "No. I want to let you twist this. You're just a coward hiding behind our weakness." His laughter fell like ice, cutting through the air. "And yet, here you are, trembling at the base of my command. Their choices reflect your own, Sarah. Look at their terror. The very thing that unites them is what keeps you shackled." A noise drew her attention. One of the diners, the brave man from earlier, was backing away, shaking his head, confusion written in his features. "This isn't real. We can beat this," he declared, but even the conviction in his voice faltered against the monumental shadows looming all around them. "No!" Sarah shouted, her voice ringing out with a fierce urgency. "Don't let him beat you. We're stronger than this." But doubt crept back in like quicksand, feet sinking in the illusions Marcus had spun. She remembered all the years spent wrestling with regret and loss, of sacrifices made for a promise that unraveled into nightmares. Each moment with Marcus replayed like a broken record, reminding her of their twisted history. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, more aggressively this time, drawing gasps from the crowd. The neon sign outside buzzed alive, lighting up one word: run. The effect was immediate. Chaos erupted as bodies surged toward the door again, but this time, the panic ignited like wildfire. Chairs toppled, the sound of desperate footsteps punctuated her resolve. "Stop!" Sarah begged, but no one could hear her over the chaos. The dark shapes of the patrons melted into the mass, fear transforming them into shadows of their worst selves. And from somewhere deep within, Marcus's glee twisted the knife deeper. Was she too late? Had the darkness consumed them? With every agonizing heartbeat, uncertainty clawed at her throat. She spun towards Marcus, who watched with anticipation, hungry for her despair. "You'll regret this," he hissed, the promise of retribution hanging heavy. "I want to let you take them." Sarah screamed, knowing it wasn't just her own life at stake, but the light in those who clung to hope despite the darkness. Could she rally them before it was too late? Could they unite against the monster she once called her own? the lights dimmed once again. And the suffocating weight of tension clung heavily in the air. Somewhere, in the depths of that chaos, a decision was about to be made. But who would rise? And who would fall? The screams collided with the oppressive darkness, feeling like shards of glass slicing through Sarah's resolve. "Get a grip!" she shouted, forcing the words out despite the tremor in her voice. The crowd surged toward the door, panic morphing the once familiar faces into a terrifying blur of fear and desperation. But behind that chaotic push, she could still see glimmers of light. The other diners, remnants of their bravery, told a different story. "Someone help me!" she cried, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Heads turned, and eyes, wide with disbelief, flickered back at her. A collective question hung steadily in the air: can we trust her? Marcus's laughter danced in the corners of her mind, eating away at her confidence. "You think they will listen? They're already decided. Fear knows no reason, it only knows survival." "Marcus, stop!" Sarah yelled, her voice breaking against his insidious waves. "You're using them. They're not your pawns." But his grating laugh only grew louder, a mocking chorus that ignited the flicker of doubt that circled her heart. "You're the one who's lost, Sarah. They're mine, all mine. Just look at them." Tremors coursed through her body, but her eyes hardened. "I'm not afraid of you." As if mocking her, the lights flicked off, plunging them back into that familiar suffocating black. Panic flared anew, screams drowned out all sense, voices overlapping in a symphony of chaos that tore at her heart. Then a flash. A sudden burst of light erupted from beyond the diner, illuminating the shattered reflections of fear on the walls. For an instant, she saw everything: the trapped souls, the faces twisted in terror, the path leading to freedom looming like a distant dream. With a surge of adrenaline, she called out again, her voice cutting through the dark, "Look! The light! We can get out!" A few patrons paused, confusion etching lines across their faces. Was it just her imagination, or was there a spark of hope beginning to take root? But Marcus seized the moment, transitioning rapidly from puppet master to monster unleashed. "You think that light can save you?" he screeched, a wild frenzy tightening around him like a noose. "It only reveals your flaws. Embrace your darkness. It's where you belong." The crowd wavered. Someone screamed. Panic reigned once more as Marcus expertly turned their fragile hope into paralytic fear. Sarah's heart raced, choking on the weight of despair, fastened suddenly to the truth racing through her mind. She was stronger than this. They all were. "Focus on your strength," she begged, sending a wave of vulnerability crashing against the tides of Marcus's chaos. "Remember who you are." "No," he bellowed, slicing through her plea, his voice sharp and menacing. "They are nothing without you, Sarah. You embraced your darkness, they will too. It is an exquisite torment we'll share." But an unexpected ally emerged from the fray. A young woman, eyes like simmering embers, pushed forward with fierce determination. "No. She is right. Remember the courage that brought us here. We can stand together. Enough of this nonsense." Marcus shouted in response, but the woman's words caught fire, igniting a flame in others as they rallied around her. A ripple of change swept through the gathered patrons. Gradually, they turned back toward Sarah, eyes sparking, unshakable. She could see it, a flicker of understanding blossoming amidst the murkiness. "Sarah!" someone shouted, urgency steeped in the voice. "We can fight him. But we need to face our fears together." The ground trembled beneath them as a rising tide of humanity surged against Marcus, pushing back against the tide of shadows threatening to consume them. In that moment, hope collided with despair, and not even the relentless Marcus could snuff it out entirely. But as he stepped forward, the darkness swirling around him like a living organism, Sarah felt the cool breeze of resolve lifting her spirits. She took a step forward and gripped the nearest shoulder. "Let us do this. Together we can beat him. But just as victory seemed within reach, a low rumble echoed through the diner. The lights flickered ominously once more, casting grotesque shadows that danced at the edge of their newfound unity. What now? A voice trembled, dread pooling on the surface. The door, moments ago a pathway to freedom, burst open with immeasurable force, a gust of wind spiraling through like the breath of their collective fears. And there, standing in the doorway, was something far worse than fear, an army of darkness commanded by Marcus himself, creatures shaped in shadows, eyes glowing like embers. Ready or not, he cackled, the hunt begins. Who would fall first in this deadly game, and could Sarah lead them to victory against the encroaching evil? The inky shadows surged forward, darting like coiled serpents into the diner. Each creature throbbed with menace, their forms flickering in and out of the sparse illumination like warped reflections in a cracked mirror. The screams pierced the air, ricocheting off the walls like bullets, each sound a tangible reminder of the panic sinking deeper into Sarah's chest. "Stand your ground!" Sarah shouted, her voice quaking but resolute, the words a fragile tether to hope. She could feel the energy building within the crowd, an undercurrent of defiance surging against the tide of fear. "We cannot let him take us." The young woman who had first rallied behind her grabbed Sarah's arm, her grip firm. "We're with you. Let us fight back. Together." A few voices echoed, a chorus of hesitation blending with newfound resolve. In their eyes, Sarah saw something shift, shadows seemed to tremble at the edges of the light, a battleground forming before them. Marcus's laughter rang out again, contemptuous and mocking. "Fools! You think unity can protect you? I've watched you at your worst. Your darkness is already woven into your very souls." He pointed dramatically, unleashing a wave of shadows that lunged at the diners. For a moment, terror paralyzed them, but like the flint drawn against steel, Sarah sparked an idea. "Remember your strengths," she cried out. "Remember your hopes. Let that light inside you break through." With each word, she saw flickers of courage igniting in the faces surrounding her, fear battled determination in their eyes as they clenched fists and set jaws. One by one, small sparks of light began to glimmer, illuminating fractured areas of the diner. A man with stained clothes gripped the table beside him and stood tall. "I'm not giving in. Not to him. Me neither." Another added, standing resolutely beside him, an emboldened fire reflecting in her gaze. Sarah felt heat rising within her. This was it. "On my count, together. 1. The cacophony of thudding hearts rose in sync. 2. The sound of chairs scraping against the floor filled the air. 3. They surged as if one. The once terrified patrons moved forward, pooling their combined courage into an electrifying wave. The light emanating from them sparkled, growing with intensity as they pressed against the encroaching shadows. Marcus recoiled, momentarily stunned by their bravery. "You can't!" he yelled, outrage morphing his voice into a strangled rasp. They pressed forward, fists raised, hearts aligned. The air buzzed with electricity that didn't just dazzle, it empowered. Creatures in his shadowy army shrieked and hissed, shrinking back under the onslaught of unified light. "Keep going. We have to push him back," Sarah yelled, her fear morphing into exhilaration as she felt the buzz of strength coursing through her. But just as their spirits began to swell, a jagged bolt of darkness shot from Marcus's outstretched hand, slicing through the gathering light. It struck them hard, scattering the crowd like leaves caught in a storm. "Look out!" someone shouted, but before Sarah could react, darkness engulfed her world, stealing away their precious unity. When she opened her eyes, she found herself alone in a blinding white room, devoid of sound. Tremors echoed in her chest, her throat tight with dread. "Where am I?" she gasped, panic tightening its grip. There were no shadows here, but something deeper lurked beneath the surface of unimaginable light, a growing sense of dread, as if the white itself were somehow alive, pulsating with hidden things. Sarah, the whisper slid through her like a serpent, sweet and terrible all at once, echoing off invisible walls. Marcus? She called, fear clawing at her throat once more. Where are you? No answer, only silence heavy with anticipation. And then, as if the room were a living entity, the air thickened, and shadows began to pulse at the corners of her vision, creeping closer. What is this? She scrambled to her feet. The shadows loomed, vibrant forms beginning to take shape as they drew near. Still lost? The voice returned, mockery dripping from each word. Like poison. Would she find herself trapped in a world of nightmares, or was the true confrontation still waiting for her? Who if anyone could she trust to fight alongside her now? The shadows twisted, forming grotesque shapes that danced along the pristine walls of the white room, hungry for a target. Sarah's heart raced, pounding like a drum in her ears, drowning out that chilling voice echoing around her. Who is there? She demanded, trying to project courage she didn't feel. Show yourself. The shadows flickered, momentarily revealing a figure, a silhouette cloaked in darkness, stealing the light like a void come to life. They shifted and melted back into an amorphous form, laughing softly. Brave girl. You think you can confront me here? There's no escape. A surge of anger fueled her voice. I'm not going to run. You don't scare me. Is that so? The figure emerged, partially illuminated, revealing a face twisted with malice. Marcus. The smirk on his lips sent shivers down her spine, echoing the taunts from moments ago. You're so naive, Sarah. Your unity is gone, and your friends? They left you to face the darkness alone. No. The denial shot out before she could filter it. She thought of the courage she saw in their eyes. They were with me, we were united. Your precious light won't save you now, sweetheart. He took a slow step, extending a hand toward her. This is where hope comes to die. An electric surge filled her senses, and Sarah felt the room pulse with her rising panic. You don't get to take this from me. You can't win. Laughter erupted from Marcus, grating and sinister. Oh, but you already lost the moment you stepped into my domain. This isn't just a room, it's your mind, reflected in the purest form. Do you think you have the strength to fight your own darkness? The shadows convulsed, swirling before her like a chaotic storm. Memories, not just hers, began to flash in front of her eyes. Laughter from past moments, smiles from friends, their hopes intertwined with hers. But then, another darkness crept in, feeding off fear and betrayal. All at once, she felt their absence, their fear, and her own growing doubt. Would the unity they forged stand the test of this relentless shadow? Look around, Sarah. Marcus's voice was a serpent's hiss. This is your reality. This is the truth you refuse to face. Alone, always alone. No. She clenched her fists, hot tears threatening to spill. You can't make me believe that. As if responding to her defiance, the shadows flicked violently, showing her images of their terrified faces, twisted in fear. A man who stood tall now crumbled to the ground. The woman beside him, once fierce and resolute, now trembled and shrieked, consumed by shadows. Stop it! Sarah screamed, clutching her head, struggling against the images from the edge of reason. They're not lost. You're lying. Am I? Marcus sneered, closing the distance between them slightly. You created this place, your insecurities, your fears. Can you not see the power I wield over your mind? She felt her strength wavering as the shadows closed in, whispering doubts that clawed at her resolve. You're nothing but a coward. She shouted, forcing her voice steady. You hide in darkness while I will fight for my light. I will not surrender. Light surged in her chest. Gritting her teeth, she pushed back against the shadows, channeling every ounce of hope she could muster. The pulse of brightness responded, forcing the darkness to recoil. Foolish girl. Marcus roared, but the shadows began to retreat. You think you can? Suddenly, a searing pain pierced through her chest, a dagger sharp and cold. She looked down, horrified. An apparition of herself, a shadowy version, loomed behind her, holding the knife that glinted in the stifling light. Remember, pain brings clarity, it hissed, twisting deeper. No! She screamed, feeling the darkness warping within as realization struck like thunder. Was her own inner turmoil betraying her? Was the greatest battle not against Marcus, but the very doubts ingrained in her soul? As the pain intensified, a final thought flashed in her mind: if she didn't reclaim her strength, there would be no light left to fight back. With one last effort, she reached deep inside herself, seeking the warmth of hope. But could she banish the darkness of her past before it consumed her entirely? The knife's edge glimmered, and in that moment of confusion, Sarah realized her greatest fight was just beginning. Would the strength within her be enough against the shadows threatening to drown her? The air in the white room thickened around Sarah, suffocating and electric. A shudder raced through her at the realization that her greatest nemesis was not Marcus, but herself, the fears and insecurities that twisted her heart into knots of doubt. The shadows pulsed with a life of their own, revealing visions of her past and future that weighed heavily on her like iron chains. You can't win! She roared, defiance sharpening every syllable. The shadow of herself twisted the knife deeper, whispering promises of despair. This pain won't ever leave you. With every gasp, it dug into her resolve, but Sarah felt something give way, an ember flickering against the cold darkness surrounding her. This wasn't who she was. She gripped that ember tightly as if it were a lifeline. No. You'll not control me. The images surged, memories flooding back: laughter in the diner, the brave man standing tall, the young woman with fire in her eyes. She thought of the friends who had dared to rally against the shadows, who had declared they would stand firm against Marcus's nightmares. Find your light! She shouted, channeling her thoughts into power. Remember who we are. The knife disappeared in a burst of light as she pushed against the shadowy figure, forcing it back into the abyss. I won't let you take anything from me. Suddenly, the walls of the white room began to crack, the light bursting forth like morning sun spilling across an endless horizon. Sarah felt the shadows wane, weakening like vapor before fire. And right then, a roar of release erupted as the shadows howled, battling against the bright surge emerging from her heart. Get out! She screamed, feeling the tide shift beneath her, a warm glow pooling in her palms, spreading outward like cosmic recognition of every moment of strength she had amassed. It radiated like a beacon, drawing in the memories of those she loved, friends, connections, a shared history forged in laughter and courage. It flickered warmly, igniting in her chest. Remember them. Fight with them. She cried, her voice echoing through the white room as the walls trembled. The shadows quivered, coiling back as Marcus's laughter morphed into a howl of frustration. You can't fight me forever, Sarah. You are nothing without your fears. Watch me. She surged forward, letting the light consume her, spilling courage out like a floodgate bursting open. The shadows shrieked, the sound of their anguished cries reverberating through her bones. She was stepping closer, her chin lifted with determination. Your time is over, Marcus. In that moment, the white room shattered like glass, fragments spiraling into the void, unfurling into the diner once again. The patrons were still there, their faces etched with fear, but she could feel their hearts beating in sync with hers. The energy returned, crackling to life, pulsing, thickening the air around them. The shadows, embodiments of Marcus's madness, lunged at them, shrieking in fury as Sarah stood at the forefront, bright with determination. Together! She cried, urging the patrons to rally behind her. She felt the weight of their hope and love illuminate the space as if the very air transformed into a shield, protecting them, fortifying their spirits. We are stronger than the darkness. You'll not tear us apart. Their voices intertwined with hers, a sweet symphony rising against the chaos. Together. Someone shouted, igniting the flame of rebellion against the shadows. Marcus's figure, looming and dark, faltered under the united front of the patrons, their small sparks igniting into a brilliant bonfire. "This isn't how it's supposed to go," he bellowed, masks of anger and confusion flashing across his face. Despair seeped into his voice, he was losing control. "We choose light," Sarah shouted back, feeling her own bravery swell as it began to solidify into a force of nature. The shadows shrieked, retreating, swirling away, trapped in the light like moths before a flame. "You've lost your hold. We're here, we're united, and we won't back down." The crowd surged forward, their voices echoing like thunder against the backdrop of Marcus's furious cries. They pushed together, hands connected, hearts linked, and their shared strength shattered the darkness completely. With a final roar, the remnants of Marcus's shadows burst apart like smoke against wind, scattering into oblivion. The diner's lights flickered back to life, the sun shining through the grimy windows, illuminating their faces with warmth. Sarah felt an overwhelming rush of relief as the oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced with hope and camaraderie. "Sarah!" the brave man from before cried, his cheeks flushed with exhilaration, eyes bright with joy. "We did it!" She turned to the crowd, tears filling her eyes. "We did it together. I'm not defined by my past, and neither are you. We are more than our fears." And just like that, amidst the chaos and terror, the shadows faded, leaving only light, a collective hope they had forged and strengthened together. The connections made in that diner bound them forever, as they had conquered not just a monster, but their own darkness. They emerged from the diner into the world outside, sunlight streaming down like a benediction, casting away the last vestiges of fear. Freedom flooded their hearts, but Sarah knew her journey was just beginning. She looked back at the diner, feeling the warmth of those who fought alongside her ignite within. As she left the echoes of the past behind, a new chapter opened, filled with choice and possibility. And so, dear friends, let this story remind you, stand united against your fears. Embrace the strength that lies within each of you, and remember the light is always brighter when shared. But before you go, now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach even more amazing people. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, we can build a community thriving on hope and light.